Well, the nonprofit journalism advocacy group Forbidden Stories has released the second volume of its disinformation investigation. Our press reviewer Diptyka Laurent is here to take us through it.
Well, Erin, Forbidden Stories, the Paris-based journalism advocacy group, released its first volume yesterday around the work and murder of Indian journalist Gauri Lankesh. Well, in their latest volume, the second volume, the group is shedding light on Team Jorge, the name given to a 6-month-long investigation into an Israeli consultant who essentially trafficked in manipulation services. It's something that the Israeli daily Haaretz is also looking at today in its article entitled "The People Who Kill the Truth," explaining that Team Jorge's nefarious network consisted of, as we see here, among other things, hacking messaging apps and email accounts, planting materials in compromised accounts, and leading an army of online avatars, basically fake accounts for social media manipulation. So these strategies altogether helping to lead this campaign of disinformation around the world, notably in elections on the African continent. Among the elections affected was Kenya's presidential election last year, and that's on the front page of this Kenyan daily today, The Standard, how Israeli hackers hit Ruto's team, in reference to, of course, the president, who was at the time presidential candidate William Ruto. Israeli hackers are accused of having accessed private emails and chats of 2 aides close to then presidential candidate and now President William Ruto, his digital strategy minister and his chief of staff. Forbidden Stories says they have no proof that the aim was to manipulate the election because Ruto didn't end up winning, but his aides were accused of using these hackers to influence election results. These allegations were eventually thrown out by the Supreme Court in Kenya. Erin.
We'll change gears now, Deputy, and head to Scotland, where there is shock after First Minister Nicola Sturgeon announced her resignation.
That's right. Shock and surprise in the Scottish Daily. She is Scotland's longest-serving minister and the first female leader governing Scotland for the past 8 years. In a very honest statement, she said that the job had simply taken a toll on her, that she no longer has the stamina to continue in this high-pressure role. In other words, as the Daily Record says on its front page here, I want my independence. You'll see in the bottom there, they note that the physical and mental impact of her job was one of the reasons that propelled her to make this decision. It's also left her nationalist party in disarray. That's something that the Scottish Daily Mail is focusing on. The nationalists in crisis, as Sturgeon stuns UK politics with this bombshell resignation. It ends in tears. That's what the Scottish Daily Mail says, noting that she was also dogged by recent scandals, including a very damaging row over a transgender prisoner. For the Daily Mail, Nicola Sturgeon has also finally accepted defeat in her relentless bid to lead Scotland out of the UK. And on that note, that's the focus of this article from Ben Jennings, the Guardian's cartoonist today. She has indeed outlived many British prime ministers in her 8 years as Scottish First Minister. As Ben Jennings notes here, 4 British prime ministers. In fact, you have Rishi Sunak here asking her why she's leaving so soon.
Let's change gears now, Dipty, and talk about Rihanna, who is gracing the cover of British Vogue this morning in a very striking photo.
Yeah, it's a wonderful cover on the front of British Vogue, Erin. Here it is. You see her looking fierce and powerful. She's had a stellar week, of course, after her Super Bowl performance and that massive reveal that she's pregnant again. This picture clearly an attempt at gender reversal roles, perhaps. You see her in the foreground while her partner, A$AP Rocky, is cradling the baby in a rather maternal way in the background there. So this striking cover is accompanied by an article in British Vogue, a rather fawning article with Rihanna that was actually conducted weeks before the Super Bowl performance. She talks about why she accepted the Super Bowl performance despite having turned it down back in 2018 over the NFL's treatment of Colin Kaepernick, who knelt during the national anthem. Rihanna also talks about her billion-dollar Fenty fashion empire, life as a mom, and the big question that music fans want to know is, when will she be releasing new music? Her last album dates back to 7 years ago. She says she doesn't give an exact time frame, but we expect some new music in the near future.
All right, and finally from you, Dipti, the war in Ukraine is creating unintended consequences for everyday Russians. Among them, Viagra is in short supply.
That's right, and no attempt, of course, to downplay the seriousness of the war. However, Metro does report hard times for Vladimir Putin as Viagra supply to Russia goes soft. A very pun intended headline from the British Daily today. Those famous little blue pills to treat erectile dysfunction are in short supply in Russia as a result of the war in Ukraine. Actually, in theory, medical supplies are not affected by sanctions, but U.S. Pharmaceutical companies who provide the pills say that Russia's isolation from the international banking system means that deliveries of Viagra to Russia will be difficult, always with a solution. The Russian Industry and Trade Ministry says it will move to make its own generic forms of Viagra in order to meet the needs of struggling Russian men. Clearly, priorities are very much in order for the Russian government, Erin.
Indeed. Dipti Laurent with the press review. Thank you very much.